Hello, hello. What's going on, guys? Welcome to the stream. I'm just getting some things set up here real quick. Might as well pull my mic over by me so you guys can hear me okay. Speaking of which, let me know if you guys can hear me, if my levels are okay. And let's do some ZBrush and some sculpting. It's been a minute since our last stream. So 1 second here as I pull up some references and some other junk on my other monitor here. This is a concept that we were working on in our last stream. I was working on the body right now, or at least a little bit ago before I just got back from the gym. I was working on the face here. Let's see here, still got everything set up, so I think we're good to go inside of ZBrush at least. But yeah, I was working on the face here, still doing some work on that. I can show you guys some of the progress on the body. The head is not in the correct position with the body simply because of symmetrical issues. As you can see, the body is not symmetrical. Where is... Let me pull up this image of this character here real quick. So here's the concept by Dino or Dino. They're a dinosaur. It's great stuff. Go check them out on ArtStation. I believe it's just ArtStation/Dino. Yep, you can just go to that link. Go check out all their work. Go check out this concept specifically because it's really dope. But yeah, here's the pose here that I've been working on. We can turn on perspective, rotate around this gal a little bit, and I can import that image in a minute as well. But yeah, it's a very out there pose. It's a really strong pose as well. It's a toughie. It's a toughie, and I'm working on it asymmetrically, which is not normally something that I do straight from the get-go. But the reason I'm working on this asymmetrically is because there is a great deal of asymmetry in the limbs and everything else. If we can jump back to the concept here, there's some funky stuff going on here. Anatomically, stuff is pushed really far, but you can see that there's some different forms going on in different parts of or in the same part of the leg. But for the leg over here in this pose, you know, not quite as large of a hit there. So it's pushed really far, but I really like this concept, and I wanted to really challenge myself with this, so I thought the asymmetry of this would be fun, and it has proven to be fun and also, yes, challenging. So I've been working on this. I haven't had as much time to work on it as I would like, or would have liked, I guess. But yeah, right now we're working back on that head, so I can kind of pop in some of this stuff back here and zoom back in on that. Where's our teeth? There we go. So I had just plopped a cylinder in here before I ran off to the gym, so I'm gonna kind of place this a little bit better. You can see I got some forms exaggerated in here pretty strongly with like the corners of our mouth. Some of this form is gonna, or actually a lot of this form, I think is gonna change quite a bit. Some things I would like to do during our stream here is tighten up this jawline, mess with maybe our silhouette here around the eyes. You can see there's a little bit of warble and some other stuff going on there. But yeah, lots of little things that I kind of want to tweak, play with. I don't know if we'll do anything with the hair tonight, but we'll just go ahead and jump in and see what we can do. But welcome everybody that's kind of just popping in here. Welcome to the stream. Omar says, I'm stuck in the Valley of Suck. Some suggestion. Omar is talking about, I believe it's Ryan Kingsline, who, or at least that's where I've heard of the Valley of Suck from. But yeah, the Valley of Suck, if you don't know, it's where you feel like everything you're making is sucking, right? Or you just like can't make anything good. I have this, actually, Omar, I have this handy little image here. Let me see if I can find it. I tend to keep it close by. Here we go. Oh, it just crashed. Actually, all my images just closed. That's okay. That's okay, I didn't want references anyway. So this is a little chart. I've pulled this up before. Bloop, bloop, bloop. There we go. That's the sound of resizing images. Bloop, bloop, bloop. The Valley of Suck, if you don't know, it's this area right here. It's labeled as a period of frustration. We can make this a little bit bigger and zoom in on it. So, this is kind of how I think, not just art, it says improvement in art, right? But I think it's like improvement in any skill. So you have your perceived technical skill, and it's like not following your actual technical skill, which is this blue line. Typically you improve, and then you like flat out or plateau for a little bit. Improve, plateau, improve, plateau. And the red line is your ability to see, which you could look at from an artistic standpoint of being your visual library, ability to see form, ability to interpret and understand, or you could look at that as your ability to kind of objectively look at yourself. But that Valley of Suck, it's this period of frustration right before you have that actual bump in technical skill, and you feel like you're actually worse than you actually are. So for during those times, a recommendation that I've heard in the past is to copy someone else's work. So if you're a 3D artist, maybe you want to find a 2D concept that you really like and try to copy that in 3D. And what you should do, since you're in this, quote, Valley of Suck or period of frustration or whatever, is try to find something that is a little bit easier than what you think you can do. When you're trying to challenge yourself, you try to find something that's a little bit outside of your range, your kind of area of comfort. But in this case, you want to try something that's a little bit easier because you're just trying to complete something. Out of, kind of almost self-fulfilling prophecy of being garbage. But yeah, I think that's a pretty good suggestion. Is try to copy something, see what you can do, and you will get out of it. You will get out of that period, that Valley of Suck, as Ryan likes to say. I also like to kind of stay in the mindset of it's not about improving and getting better. I like the poop sandwich analogy, where it's like, you're everything you make is a poop sandwich. You're just trying to make those sandwiches a little less poopy every time. So it's not about getting better. It's about getting less poopy, less shitty in your work. So that's the way I kind of like to think about it. But you will figure it out, Omar. You're a smart guy. I believe in you. Alvaro, welcome to the stream. Glad to have you with us. We are working on our D-Dinosaur concept here. Trying to figure out, like I said, there's a lot of stuff that's really pushed in this concept pretty hard. So it's kind of a matter of figuring out all of that. There's a really sharp point kind of coming down there on the center of the lips there, and the teeth are kind of following that line. So I think the teeth are kind of what's throwing me off a little bit. Plus I can kind of start to close up the mouth here a little bit more than what I have, just to fit our concept. It's almost like a Joker a Joker smile, where they got like the slit lips or something. But I think if we kind of compress this a little bit here on the sides, just to get things looking a little bit closer. The way I've remeshed this is I've kind of used poly groups. I've done this before, and I think there's a tutorial of it on my YouTube channel somewhere. But essentially you create different poly groups and then ZRemesh with groups on to allow the poly groups to kind of inform your edge flow a little bit better. You can see ZRemesher doesn't do the best job in the world, but it does a little bit of a better job if you use these poly groups and kind of define it a little bit more. It's the best you can kind of do in terms of auto topology, unless you're just gonna kind of do it the old-fashioned way and manually retopo everything. But I am not animating this, nor is it for a game, so I do not care. Let's look here at our teeth. I think, let's do, let's try to adjust this a little bit. I'll grab our bridge tool, close this little false toothy thing up, and I'm just going to crease a couple edges here, just like that. A little bit of a half wedge there, and you know what, that's not going to mirror properly. I am off the symmetrical axis and I am using local symmetry, if you guys noticed that. So I have to do things a little bit differently here. So let's instead just bevel this center edge loop, and then we will extrude also the poly loop here, or edge loop. Extrude that in. And I'm just trying to get, not really a gap between the teeth, but just a little bit of a crease and additional info there. So let's crease edge loop and start creasing some of this stuff here. And I can turn on my local sim back on as well. Whoop, and not that edge. Increase that. And clean up some of this junk. Yo says, Oluwatuni, what is going on? Welcome to the stream. Yo is my preferred way of greeting people, or saying something along the lines of "What's up, nerds?" Just because most of the people I know and hang out with are in fact nerds, including myself, so it's typically appropriate. I think we might get rid of the extra bevel in there and just kind of keep the crease. But I think that's fine for now. Maybe after we soften it and play with it a little bit, might be a little bit better. Plus I can hollow out some of that, but we're gonna leave that for the time being in there. And looks almost a little buck-toothy with that amount there. So we'll have to be careful to avoid that specific look. Let's see if we can tighten that up, pull that down. Don't want that bleeding through the other geometry. And now I would like to create some eyelashes for our character here. Hers are pretty interesting. For one thing I notice is that over here on this side we have these 3 little bottom lashes, but we don't have them over on this side. I just noticed that, so that's fun. I think we're gonna start here with these main forms. I'll probably do a single geometric piece kind of looping around for this part here, and then one additional for this kind of top lash look that we have going on here. Some interesting stuff. This might end up being 2. We'll see. We'll get in there and see what we can do. So I'm just gonna hide my hair and really get in here on the face. Let's duplicate our head. And there's a few different ways I can kind of go about this. I have a new brush that I have made because I got tired of manually doing this all the time. It is my cube tube brush. It's essentially just a curved tube brush that is an actual cube. You can make these settings with the curved tube snap, but it's not the exact same geometry. It won't be the exact same as my brush here. The caps are flat quads, so on the curved tube snap it tends to add a point or a poke face on that. You don't particularly want that. I'm actually going to use the curved tube snap though, because I want a little bit of a rounder form here. So I'm just going to essentially trace my eyelid here all the way up, and a little bit of warble there. That's because it's the curved tube snap brush, and it's not the cleanest curve in the world. But we can clean that up pretty easily by adjusting our brush size with a couple clicks. We can also go into our stroke menu, mess with our size modifier. What we're going to want is small into large, at least for this first portion here. And maybe that's a little bit too small, so let's modify that. Find a nice happy place. We'll go ahead and just accept that, and then we can kind of modify this here. Let me grab that, delete hidden, and then we'll do a separate piece that we can kind of merge with this, or maybe just keep separate. It won't really matter too much. All right, so let's get in there with our Z modeler brush and start cleaning up this curve. I'm going to use delete edge loop complete here, and 1 second. All right, so delete edge loop complete, and I want to be careful, set our polyface to do nothing, and we'll go back through here and start cleaning up this curve. I'm just gonna delete maybe every 2 or 3 edge loops. Mainly I want to clean up around here. As you can see, things got a little out of control, just to give us a little bit more ease with fixing that area. The less geometry we have to move, the better. All right. So we also have a little bit of twist there. That's okay. That won't be a problem at all. Go ahead and move that top piece there, that end, into position, and we can get to adjusting here and here. All right, so a few subdivs in here to help us out. Start cleaning up our lash. And now I just need to kind of align that with my top lid and get that in a little bit of a better position. Then we can kind of remesh, clean it up, and that second piece there. So, you know, I've done eyelashes a few different ways. Sometimes I'll kind of just box model them. These, I'd rather just kind of get some geometry in there and then kind of work with it a little bit more freeform. And we'll kind of align here to our lash, or our lid, I should say. And get the rest of this. I'm kind of trying to align with the edge of my lid, but not intersect with my eyeball. I could maybe use some volume adjustments around here. And after I get this to a little bit better of a place, I'll Dynamesh this, and then we can add a nice crease through here. So as you can see, for our corners of our eye, we got this additional form here. So actually what I'm going to do is, I think, hold off on creasing this geometry, and we'll do that for that additional piece that'll be on top. And we might end up merging all of these together. I'm not sure yet, but we will find out. See what looks the best first. Let's go ahead and just Dynamesh this piece, as those poles are pretty ugly here. Geometry's starting to pull in really tight there. We want to avoid that kind of thing. It's also making it a little hard to tweak down here in the corner. Let's give me that low res. Whoop. Try to get a little bit of a better angle there. And the look that I'm going for here, I'm trying to soften this so that it'll narrow out. You can see here we're trying to get that to kind of terminate into the corner, but I don't want it to just kind of disappear into the mesh. I want it to kind of thin out to a nice sharp point like we have there. So what I'm doing is I'm using my smooth brush to essentially deflate the area. And you can use your deformation palette or inflate, negative inflate it if you want. I find this to just be a little bit faster. It takes a little bit more control though, so just kind of play around with it. And let's go ahead, kind of pull that up. Might need to push that that top lid back just a tad. Let me adjust this a little bit more. Being really careful with that smooth brush. It's so easy with the smooth brush to destroy everything that you've spent time building up. That should be good for now, so let's move on to this little bit of a lower loop. So terminating maybe about halfway, maybe about right here. So we can kind of, let's see. So I've just kind of duplicated my top little tube here, and now I'm going to draw on this mesh. I am going to, as much as it pains me to start from the bottom, because I'm not great at drawing lines from bottom to up, since it's already kind of tapered in my size palette. I've kind of already done that, so we'll just do it this way. Just because I'm lazy and don't want to click back over there and mess with that menu. Alright, so a little bit more adjusting position-wise. And we'll have that top and bottom piece ready to go. Let's set these to black as well. I'll just do that top one first, and then I'll continue to adjust this, and then I'll set it to black once I'm finished with it. Whoops. Getting some color in there, don't want that. Most of your brushes have that RGB modifier turned on by default, which is pretty annoying. Alright, let's see. Alright, here. Let's get to modifying. I just realized that I do not have my musics turned on. I'm just going to leave it off for the time being and turn it on maybe later. I'm not in a music-y mood. So really right now I'm kind of at the stage where I'm doing lots of little tweaks here up in the face, and that includes little things like the lashes here. Lots of little movements. Trying to get a little bit more thickness up here. And then I can kind of merge that with that bottom one. So let's subdivide that a couple times and merge that together. And now I'm just going to Dynamesh this here, and we'll turn off our poly paint. We'll add that back in just a moment. And I have press Control W. That's normally polygroup mask, but in this case it's polygroup visible since we don't have anything masked. And I'm just going to kind of clean up some of this area so that when I Z-remesh this, it doesn't give us too funky of a transition here. We'll see what it does by default. That's not awful. One more on top. We'll keep that. so let's get in here and adjust some of this a little bit more. Maybe a little bit more taper here. This gets pretty thin, so I kind of want that to like visually read the same, obviously. Pups are going crazy outside. I'm surrounded by dogs on all sides, which is normally why we have some background music to distract from the constant barking doggies. Let's see. I think that's pretty good. I think we can kind of work on that top lid now. So again, back to that skin shade 4. You can just press the V key. If you're sculpting, this is a really kind of beginner issue I see a lot with people. They'll be sculpting and then they'll say, oh, my mesh turned black, I don't know what to do. That's because you pressed the V key. It's kind of like Photoshop. In Photoshop, if you press X, it swaps your colors. I think it's X off the top of my head. V in ZBrush swaps your colors, and your second color by default just happens to be black. So just keep that in mind. If you don't have any poly paint added to your mesh, it will turn black. Let's see, turn that on. It will turn black by default. So I have poly paint, and material assigned, toggled on, so it's not swapping, but everything else is. So back to our lovely lashes. Skin shade 4, black. Whoops. Let's make sure we got our mRGB selected up there. Okay. And now let's do this kind of straight piece, which I'm not positive I understand the form entirely yet. A little bit trapezoidal. Hiccup burped. That was grody. A little bit trapezoidal. Looks pretty sharp. So let's try to figure this out. We'll just let's duplicate that lash again. Delete lower subdiv so that we can insert some geometry in there. And this time, I think I'm just going to use my... There's a couple ways I could do this. I could just insert a cube in there and kind of adjust that. That might be fun. Let's play around with that. Bendy says hi. Welcome, Bendy. Dean says, dang, it's been a while. It has been. When was our last stream? I should look that up. I feel like it was a week ago. It wasn't a week ago, was it? I don't think it was a week ago. I streamed on the body of this character. You might not have been here for that. My contact is screwing with me right now. It's super dry. Has YouTube been slow for anybody else? August 9th. Okay, not a week ago. A couple weeks ago. So it's been a minute. And Nart says hi. Hello, Nart. Welcome to the stream. My contact lens wants to hurt me very much, as they normally do, as it gets later in the day. This looks like a character from DP2, Deadpool 2. That's because it is. Check out the concept art by D. Dino down in the link below. Where are you? Yeah, it's what's her name? Domino. There it is. That's a good reminder. Domino, yeah, it's pretty dope. It's a sweet concept. It's pushed really far. Pretty crazy. Pretty challenging. But I'm enjoying working on it. And I think we can do some cool stuff here. So, we were going to do this top lash before I remembered that there was a chat. So let's do this top lash now. How do I want to do this top lash? Let's try a couple things. Let's try some things. That's pretty much how I do it, guys. So I've just used my custom cube tube brush here to kind of insert a quick little thing of geo, and now we can kind of start aligning this a little bit. Man, it's so flat. This is like 110 degree angle or something, 120 maybe. It's like such a strong, sharp cutoff. It's a little much. I don't know if I'll do it that much initially. Let's kind of just see what we can do here. Start by masking off the bottom, rotating, moving some stuff, rotating some other stuff. You know what? Let's just get out of here. It's just creating more work for me. I'll add in edge loops later. Let's just align two basic sections first. And then we can kind of adjust them. Maybe a little bit higher. Might have to adjust our eye some. I think it's fine to put some curve in there. I don't know if it'll change the feel of the expression enough if I put curve in there. I don't know if it'll feel similar enough. We'll have to play with it and find out. Nart says, I just subscribed. Well, thank you, Nart. Unfortunately, YouTube doesn't do live streaming notifications to let you know when people sub or anything like that. That would be a cool feature, though. YouTube, get on it. Let's see here. How do we want to do this? How we do this? Let's move to the corner. And start moving some stuff. I am off the symmetrical axis, which sucks. Makes things a lot more difficult than they need to be for certain things, like this, because you cannot use all the mirror functionalities available to you in ZBrush. You can only use mirror and weld. I'm not sure if you can use the Subtool Master mirror with a local sim. You might be able to. I can't remember, and I don't really feel like testing it right at this moment. That I just saw lightning outside. It's been storming like crazy where I live. This whole week been nothing but rain. Alright, so I'm just using very quickly my slice curve brush here to manually add in some edge loops. You can also use your Z modeler brush and add in poly loops that way. It's really just kind of up to you, preference kind of thing. I kind of prefer, you know, whichever one's fastest at the time, whichever one's going to get the job done a little bit better. In this case, just a quick slice will do what we need. So let's move some of this. We're going to be creasing some edges and some other stuff here, but now I can start to kind of wrap this a little bit better. I also want to hide all the things so I can see what I'm doing. I am going to select like this, like this, like this, like all that, and just hide it. Those are some big eyes. Well, thank you. Thank you for noticing. You know what they say about big eyes. I got nothing. That joke doesn't have a punchline. That was, you guys can fill in the punchline. Looks like my bot just posted in the chat. I could have sworn I turned that off. 1 second. That thing's annoying. Whoop. Move that out of the way. Bot, you're supposed to be off. Maybe that'll work. We'll see. Keeps doing it. I will find some other way to turn that off. I want to kind of align this with my eye some more. I also want to crease some edges so that I can get some cleaner forms when we subdivide or add some dynamic subdivs in there. Either or. Actually, let's snap that to our corner here. Align that there. And let's go ahead and crease so I can see what this is looking like, this curve. Crease, edge loop complete, and just go through here. Crease up these edges. Make sure to get them all, except for, of course, these ones. I don't want these creased. That looks funky. So yeah, this is a pretty interesting... I feel like there's just some follow through going on here, and I feel like we don't add that in, it's not going to be the end of the world. Let's try to just like align this first, and then we'll kind of retcon it if we need to. Oh, delete you. Nope, not crease, delete. I feel like I make a lot of Tim the Toolman Taylor kind of sound effects. I don't really know what that I don't know what that says about a person. I don't know if that's a good thing. I'm gonna lean on the cautionary side of no. I also want to pull in this bottom edge quite a bit. All of these. Ooh. Careful. We'll just do these one at a time so I don't completely screw everything up. Alright. Now my next objective is to kind of get what I've got a little bit going on already, which is kind of this upturn swoop kind of effect towards the corner. Kind of want to have that follow through, a little bit of kind of this dynamic twist going on here. We'll make it a little bit more obvious. You can see that there's like some fraying out going on here, single point over there. We will lean on the side of simplification. I don't think that has to be out quite that far, maybe. Maybe not. Let me zoom out here. Now, we can pull that in. And we want, and let me show you here on ZModeler. So I am working with a local sim here, so that means that anything I do in here should go over to the other side. So it is. But unfortunately that slice curve method, if you see me add an edge loop there, you can see that it is not over there. So if I try to do an operation on this, like let's say I want to bevel this edge, it's not going to work. It's not going to let me because it says non-symmetrical, operation canceled. So just be aware of that. Slice curve does not symmetrically work. Of course, you can mirror and weld after the fact, or whatever else you need to do to get that into place. Now I'm kind of using that same technique that I used to taper the corner. I'm kind of just smoothing this ever so slightly, being very careful. Kind of want to thin out a lot of this. Another thing there, you see that floating red dot. That's because that's where that vertice actually is, as opposed to where it is when I dynamically subdivide this. So I'm not actually subdividing this geometry currently. It's all dynamic. All kind of like a smooth group in Maya or something similar. So I think that's looking pretty good. I think once I get some black in there, we can kind of look at that a little bit. Skin shade 4. Black it out. Kind of get a little bit of a distance read here. Just kind of seeing what those lashes are looking like with everything else turned on. So again, there's that kind of hard straight line going on here. Very straight. So it might be necessary to put that in to you know, really make the expression kind of get across for this character, which is fine. The point is that we have the parts in there for the time being, which is exactly what we need to do for that first step of that process. Get everything in there, and then we can kind of modify it more to look like our character. So now it would kind of require me to modify my eye, my lid, and kind of pull down a great deal of this stuff to get that looking a little bit more on point. We can look at some more stuff here. I also actually want to do some sculpting on the body and try to kind of problem solve some stuff there as well. I have a lot going on with this character, and I have a lot of work to do. This hair, I have some old creases in here. Kind of want to, what are we at? It's a lot of polys. I just want to see what these turn into if I ZBrush at 5K. See how much form I can actually retain. Just because I have some awkward shadows and creasing going on, that actually doesn't look too bad. This is all pretty messy in here, but I think that's a lot better. When you ZBrush, using the automatic ZBrush functionality, you are going to lose some volume on your forms, simply because at this low poly state, if I undo here, you can see in this low poly state, it's trying to retain that basic shape, that basic silhouette, and it's actually doing a pretty good job of keeping that volume. You know, you see you lose a little here, but when you go from here to subdivide into even more, so you get that low poly state and then it starts subdividing, that's when you start to lose some more of that volume. And there are ways you can get around that, but for what we got here, for just kind of a block out shape for all of our hairs, I think it looks pretty good. Those are intersecting there. A lot of things are intersecting here. I'm just gonna noodle on this face a little bit and try and clean up some of these areas for the silhouette and the jawline and a few other things. But if you guys have got any questions, throw them up in the chat and I will do my best to answer some. Let's kind of mess with this angle a little bit. Start to play with our silhouette. Pulls down into this tighter jaw shape. And I kind of like to keep a little bit of a sharper line for my jawline, at least until I'm kind of, satisfied with the shapes that I have, mainly for the purpose of just kind of knowing where that surface turn is. But I think it's at a good enough place now where I can really start to soften this form up some. So probably come through here, fill in some of that extra as it's starting to kind of get a little bit of a concavity down there, which is a no-no. Don't want that. And also using my trim brush, can start to clean up some of this stuff. And I'm using my smooth brush as well as my alternative smooth, which is letting go of shift while you're smoothing. Kind of does a little bit of a normalization to your surface. It averages the surface, I would say. I think that's looking a lot more clean. And just kind of move my light around here a little bit as I kind of look at my jawline. And I think it's definitely better. I think maybe this could stand to be a little bit of a sharper transition even still. Sharper angle, not transition. There we go, we're starting to get that a little bit better. Not only is that something that's really sticking out to me, there are a couple other things, and it might be this angle, it might be the warp that's kind of going on here in the lips, but I think distance-wise there are some things that can kind of change here. I think the nose can come down a bit, be a little bit closer to the lips, so I'd like to make that change. I would normally just kind of mask this out, but I have a mouth bag in here, the inside of my mouth, and I want to be really careful that I'm not masking that off, because that would be really not good, because then I'd start to pull up that inside of the bag and it'd like pop out through the top of the head, so I don't want that. I'm just making this selection for, that's a little creepy, for a mask here, so it doesn't need to be perfect or anything. And then I can kind of soften that, control clicking on my surface, and we'll see how that transitions now. Whoop! See, we ended up grabbing some of the chin there. So let's make sure that none of that is selected down there. And real quick, just to make sure we got nothing else. Okay, you can see here that I've gotten a little bit of the side of the face here. Doing an extreme move will kind of allow you to see where some of these areas are. So let me mask off around here, make sure we got everything. I think we did. That's fun, right? A little, oh god. Alright, so let's slide this around, down this line now that I've created. Pull that down. And kind of compare here to our image. Maybe slightly more. I think smile wrinkles are big. Yep, absolutely. We've exaggerated them for sure. There's some asymmetry going on in there, though, so I want them to be pretty strongly defined at this point. I'm not going to adjust them yet. So pulling down that nose there, I'm kind of measuring some stuff here visually. I think that's a lot better. Looking at perspective here, or not perspective, our profile, there are a couple things I just want to tweak a little bit. So I'm looking here, so my form kind of wraps around some inconsistencies in the silhouette. So I'm really just trying to get in here and look at this from as many angles as I possibly can. And make some pretty small movements that will add up after we tweak a little bit more. And you'll see me toggle on and off my hair. The hair is just kind of helpful as the whole piece here to kind of just help visualize everything together. I think. What do I think? Let's build up a little extra volume here. Also, my character doesn't have any ears visible. I could put in some ears. The only reason I would really put in ears is to kind of help figure out where some other stuff is on the face. Really, ears aren't super helpful with that. Normally, you use other parts of the face to help you figure out where the ears need to go. It's normally the other way around. But for this character, I think the hair is going to cover up anywhere where the ears would be. So, you know, I'm not going to make ears if they're not going to be seen in the character. It's just additional work for the sake of it. Just trying to be really careful here to not destroy the form that I built up around the eyelid as I try to adjust this area on the flat plane of the cheek, a little bit of the nasal fold there. You can see we're getting a pretty strong, awkward shadow there, so I'm trying to clean that up some. And I think if I get a little bit of a plane change in here, let's see. Just seeing a little bit of this here. I think it'll help us out. So from here, that's ugly, but it's fine. Just to help us with that plane change. And I'm doing this kind of sharp cut here to force my surface to turn. Essentially saying, pushing it, you know, past where it needs to be at first, and then we'll kind of soften it after the fact. You can see we're getting still that strong shadow in there. That's what I'm trying to alleviate, remove. Try to mask these off. Another great reason to have some polygroups in here, right? If you don't want to affect a certain part, just mask it off. Seth says, what a hard reference. To be honest, 2D people get away with everything. That's right. There's, I don't know if you've seen the entire image. There's actually quite a few more people in here now that I look at it. Yeah, there's definitely a lot of, it's pushed really far. There's a lot of cheating going on here. There's a lot of stuff in the legs where they're just completely different shapes. The arms, you know, I mean, this one's kind of hidden behind the head. Fingers are kind of noodly here, maybe a little bit more defined down here. But those knuckles are pretty crazy. And just in the face too, the lips, and even a couple things in the eyes are pretty wonky. But we will figure it out, and it's definitely a challenging one, which is one of the reasons I chose it. Another reason, you know, I just really like the concept, and I love that person's work, and they definitely don't get enough recognition for their stuff, so hopefully we'll get them a couple more views here. At least mentioning their name, I think is good. So I'm now that I've kind of pinched in there, I can kind of go through, soften out a little bit of that, so that transition is becoming a little bit less concave. There are like these little pock-marked shadows in here that I was trying to completely get rid of. Still kind of an annoying one right here. Just trying to clean it up. Clear our mask, and look at this a little bit more here. I'm getting there, for sure. Definitely some more stuff that needs to change, but that's getting there. What a cool style, yeah, for sure. They got some really sweet stuff. Man, I'm a big fan. Trying to take some of this down. I said I would do it later, but technically it is later. I wanted to keep a little bit of a, I mean, look at this thing. It's like this one's going this way, this one's straight up and down. There's some weird stuff for sure. I'm gonna try to get a decent angle on this to trim it up. If I can, carry some of that form down a little bit. Whoa. I don't know why, but the lazy mouse, whenever you're using lazy mouse on occasion, it just like jumps out of like wherever you're sculpting. It's super weird. Super annoying. some stuff here. Pull some of that in. I'm trying to get a little bit of an S-curve in there. A shadow, you know, as I start to smooth this out. That's why you don't, you know, it's called the smooth brush, but it's not the only smooth brush, right? Your trim brushes are pretty good at smoothing too. And if you only use the smooth brush to kind of start to clean some stuff up, you're going to end up losing a lot of form. I'm getting a little bit of that still. We're getting there. See if I can force that a little bit more. Really, I'm just kind of trying to change the angle of the corner of the mouth there. This surface, you know, it doesn't matter. It does matter, but it's not, it doesn't need to like have that transition there. Pretty much a no man's land in our concept, so we kind of have to play around here for a minute. Strong Rum says it's because of a lazy snap. If you look down here at my lazy mouse, I don't think you understand what I'm talking about. Maybe it is because of lazy snap. I have lazy snap on 0 though. What I'm talking about is when you're I don't want that on my trim brush. When you're sculpting, I keep lazy snap on 0 all the time. When you're sculpting, on occasion, you know, if I'm sculpting this way, all of a sudden the brush like jumps over there and like comes back to where my brush is, like out of nowhere, which is pretty annoying. I don't know if that's lazy snap. I don't think it is. Lazy snap is for snapping to the edge or the end of your line. So we'll just put that on 100 and it'll snap to the end of that line so I can kind of continue that. And that bug has been there forever. Yes, it has. It's very annoying too. Luckily, most of the time you can undo it, but I have had on occasion been sculpting, had that happen, and then you go to undo it and like ZBrush crashes really fast, and it's like, we quick saved your subtool for you, and it's got like this giant freaking slash or crease or whatever brush you're using right down. It's like, cool, now I have to roll back to an older version, as long as you do have an older version, which most of the time I do. I'm pretty good at keeping multiple files of stuff. Kind of still got some extra volume in here that's kind of annoying me. Just trying to kind of get a little bit plainer there, a little bit more plainer. And now that's a lot better. I just kind of step up and down and smooth that out. Very pretty strong transition in the corners of the mouth there. We do get a little bit of a nicer S curve there, which is kind of what I was going for with that that kind of process. The whole reason we were hanging out down there. All right. There's still some little annoying shadows around the eye there. I want to see if I can take the time to fix this, see what's going on here. It's like right in here. Oh gosh, I hear an ice cream truck. It's a little late for an ice cream truck to be driving around on a Wednesday. It's the haunted ice cream truck. Try and look at this from another angle. So the problem that I'm having is that it's like subducting into that corner there and simultaneously flowing up into the nose, which is fine. That's what we want. It's just right here. Let's see that. And then this divot here starts to create a pretty poopy shadow. So what we want to do is kind of come in here and make that flow a little bit better. And you guys saw me, if you were here earlier, I kind of like creased and pulled in here along the nose to kind of force the turn. Also to kind of pull it in a little bit. It looks like we just have to do it a little bit more. Now I have "Do Your Ears Hang Low" stuck in my head, and I swear I can still hear it, but there's no way that ice cream truck is still there. It's like, I think I can hear it, but I know there's no way. That's the real curse of the ghost ice cream truck. It just gets that stupid song stuck in your head. Alright, that is already much improved. I just want to fix this curve now a little bit. I am going to come through here with my pinch brush. There it is. Okay. Just to kind of force the, whoops. What I'm going to do is kind of force the surface to kind of bevel there, and then I can push this out here, force it to turn. sometimes it helps to just kind of planarize or make planes out of your sculpt to like figure out how stuff is working. It can be hard to interpret a lot of this stuff. I think this can be helpful though. And it's real, like I only did this temporarily just so I can really understand my surface and then make that pretty small adjustment there. And I want to kind of keep that volume all the way out as it wraps around. And then also into our nose here. I think we're maybe getting a little bit too thick towards that bottom lip. And that's probably because I slid that nose down so far and didn't, you know, make the proper adjustments after doing that. So I think just a big move brush here, kind of planarize that so it's not like sticking out quite so far there. Just a little bit of a thing there, but I think it'll add a lot, make a big difference. I think we're looking pretty good here. This is a tough area for me. I think it's a tough area for a lot of people. You know, eyes are tough, but just this area in general, this cheekbone. There's a name for that area. It's part of your zygomatic bone. I don't know if this is, it's your zygomatic process. I'm not sure if the entire portion of your cheekbone is considered your zygomatic, but that area is definitely a toughie. Just kind of playing with my silhouette a little bit more here, a little bit stair-steppy. Kind of want to pull that area down some more. I was looking a little bit too planar. Plus that hit is a little bit lower there. Got a little more volume in here that needs to be blended, but I think we're looking a lot better. I think I've, hopefully not, might have gone a little bit too far smoothing stuff out around my nose and kind of lost some stuff there. Around the edge there. I can kind of crease that up there and put that back in. Hopefully it's not too big of a deal though. Trying to get the face to wrap a little bit more as it gets closer here to the nose. Things were looking just a little bit too concave down in here. Let's look here at our nose. So I'm talking about the wings here. I'm not sure if they've kind of blended a little too much or what. I'm gonna come through here, sketch a line or two. So let's do that, but then let's kind of subsequently add a little bit more volume to our nose. Looking good, by the way. Thank you. Appreciate it. Strong rum. What's an example of some strong rum? What's the go-to? I assume if your name is Strong Rum, you have to always have like a bottle of rum handy. I always have some polygons handy. Typically they're messed up. Hence the name. So I'm using my mech cut brush here, just to kind of, I could also come in here with a crease. Just gonna use this though to find that edge a little bit better. This kind of like, I was having some trouble with the nose earlier because it kind of just like subducts super fast as it goes back. It just gets like really narrow there. And I don't know if that's just like the concept screwing with me or what. But it does get kind of super narrow in there. I don't know if it's really narrow enough here in 3D to feel the same. So I think I'll just kind of push in just a little bit more there. We're working on the nose, so we might as well while we're here. Okay, and now I just want to build up a little bit of volume in here. I'm not going to go crazy with this though. So I'm starting off with my clay tubes, just get some geometry in here, and then build it up, blend it out. I mean, I'm also going to use my move brush a little bit, but it helps to kind of sculpt a little bit of that form in there at first. Trying to look at this from a lot of different angles as I go here. A few strokes here, move my camera, a few strokes there, rotate the model, blah, 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 blah. Blah, 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 blah. Aren't I a good teacher? Do this, blah, 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 blah. So that's definitely a lot closer to what I was looking for in terms of form transition. Pinch brushes are always, they always leave like this residual, like, oh gosh, this residual, it's not a good example, this, like this residual hard line here and here, no matter what. Kind of got to go back through and soften that. I need like a, I need to make like a softer pinch brush. And it's probably, well, that doesn't matter. Probably something I could do with just the focal shift and maybe the alpha, you can see there that that line's like a little bit better, but like with the focal shift up, you know, tighter on the edges. It's just because it's transitioning harder. So it might just be that, you know, you need a large pinch brush for the job, and then, you know, bring that focal shift way up. Something like that. It's actually not that bad. It's kind of working. And then, yeah, actually that does work pretty well. A little bit softer there. It's kind of, it's just, the brush is so big, it's like kind of laggy. I don't really change my focal shift on my brushes too often. It's not something that I change a ton. Mainly just change my brush size every other stroke. Make sure I got rid of that awkward form transition there, get rid of that shadow. You can see we still got some of that in there, so let me, whoops, clean some of that up a little bit better. Come on. Right. And now, I'm gonna squeeze in some stuff here on the nose. Kind of how it works. I make one change, and then that one change allows me to see what's going wrong with everything else. That's how it works, though. You have to reference everything against each other. Let's see here. Whoop. Kind of just need to pull in that top plane. It's more so the top than it is anything on the bottom. I think I've just kind of softened this a little bit too much throughout here. There's the bug that we were just talking about. Start to make one little stroke and then it freaks out on you. Only happens with a lazy mouse, to my knowledge. So what needs to happen here? We need this kind of, and this is, you know, I'm interpreting a 2D image with what little information I have with the shadows and everything else here, but we're gonna have to do our best. Is angled, the face is angled down slightly, so you can't see the bridge of the nose obviously from that angle, or the Bridge of the nostrils, I should say. Oh, it's gonna do it again. Maybe it has something to do with crossing the line of symmetry. Maybe. I don't know. Pretty sure I've experienced it. Not working on or close to a line of symmetry. Really, I don't know. I kind of need to move this surface turn down more. So this shape needs to kind of wrap a little bit better. Kind of the read that I'm getting here. Noses are always fun to work on though. I like sculpting noses. This one though, this one's a little there. Thank you, God, for polygroups. Let's unmask this. I just want to narrow this up a little bit. I think that's like the main thing that's really making our nose not look quite on character. Kind of softened and lost our nostrils a little bit. You can still see the edge loop in there though. Let's get those back in. Just using my move brush, pushing that in a little bit, soften it up. I could also use, typically when I'm like first putting these in there, I'll just use a standard brush and put in a little hole real quick. Probably want to recrease these edges a little bit with our pinch brush, tighten them up some. And you can kind of see it's like this plane that we're getting on the front. And we kind of got that. If we were to rotate to that angle there, and get that shadow again. Kind of see that our nose is a little bit more on point. So that's the angle that I'm trying to replicate there a little bit better. I think we've done that. There's always more we can do though. I think just a little bit of move brush here and there, nudge some stuff around. I think that'll put us in a good place. I'm going to use the edge of my brush to push up this area right here. It's kind of working, but it's not exactly playing as nice as I would like. I'm just going to kind of, you know, actually mask it off and do it, do it manually. HUD boy, what's going on? Welcome to the stream. I'm just working on this super neato character by D-Dino. Link down in the description. Now, as I've kind of softened that and moved that around, you can see that we've started to get that in a not so good place. Just kind of getting that fixed up. Actually, we kind of could use that a little bit. Try and just get a little bit of that part through there maybe. Or let's look at doing that. Just so it's not like perfectly rounded across this entire area. Just get a little bit more form. A little more farm. Sounded a little Minnesotian. Minnesotish? Minnesota pop. I sounded a little bit like I was from Minnesota. There's also like this really, I'm getting this like sharp crease read here on this lip. I don't know how much I like that. Try to re-push out this area. I'm working on the back face of that, by the way. I don't do that very often, but on occasion it can be helpful. For little areas, like in the corners of the mouth or something like that. That's a little tight too. I'll probably just get rid of that. Getting some form in there can be helpful though. Really, I don't need to adjust this. I think it's fine. It's just a mouth bag. I just want to make sure that that corner coming back here is clean, which it is fairly clean thus far. I think we've lost a little bit of our form on our upper lip here. So that starts to move back. And you can see in the concept, this kind of part of the lip here comes back, and then it's like the corners of the mouth are just like super long. I think it's interesting. It's just how do we replicate that in 3D, right? Without it looking super wonky. I'm gonna add some poly paint on here. Helps for visualizing some stuff. Also, I think Domino, one of her eyes is brown and one is yellow. Yeah, so one yellow eye, one brown eye. Yellow one is her left eye. I don't know if I'll paint the eyes first. I probably won't. Let's swap on over to our standard brush. We'll grab Skin Shade 4. I'm just going to sample a color on the face and start filling some colors in here and there. Let's see, our eye, grab some off-white. Our eyebrow, same color as the hair. I want to darken that hair up though. This is pretty, looks more saturated than it actually is. Let's do 50%, fill that in. Trying to decide how dark we want to make this hair. Alright. Looking at the different shades that are in here. With your C key, you can sample any color on your screen. With Spotlight, you do have to activate the Spotlight tool to be able to sample it, though, which is what I'm doing right now. It just looks really saturated to me. Maybe not. I'll leave it for now, and we will definitely change everything later. But it's good to just get some paint on here. I'm gonna set my RGB intensity to like 5. Yeah. And then come through, add some color in some different areas. Add some shadows manually, kind of to some different areas, just kind of shading a little bit. Some highlights. None of this is final. None of this really, matters too much. But it's good to get this in here early. Play around with it. Whoops. Let's grab our lips here. Probably paint some of this in. I'll probably fill my mouth with black, or whatever this color is. I'll probably just do black. Alright, it doesn't have to be perfect. I'm just trying to get some paint in here. And things start to come alive a lot more once you start adding in some paint, some color. I just want to hide everything except for the inside of the mouth right now. Isn't that fun? I'm just going to mask this off. Show everything. Soften my mask back. And add in, let's try this color. Whoop. Let's try this color here. I think that's fine. We'll stick with that for the time being. But yeah, just getting some quick poly paint on here, I think it really helps. So if stuff is looking good, you know, black and white, it's going to look even better, of course, with poly paint, as long as you do the painting well. Let's look at sampling some more colors here. I want my RGB intensity pretty low as I work on this. So I'm trying to add a little bit of this warmer color, you know, where I see it in the concept, obviously on the nose, a little bit on the cheeks too, maybe on the chin some. And then I want to add, I'm just kind of sampling this darker color and using it to kind of just get a little bit in here on the underside of our eye socket. And just kind of paint some of that darker shade in there. And I tend to, you know, go pretty overboard here at first. It's pretty easy to knock it back down though. So let's sample again. RGB pretty low. Just kind of lightly brush over some of these areas. And if you maybe want to, like, similar to the inside of the mouth, if you want to manually paint your nasal cavity, I think that can help add some more form around here. You don't have to though. Typically I don't like to for the nose. I'll show you why. I think it looks a little fake. Whereas the inside of the mouth, transitions are like hid with the lips and everything. And you don't have to make it pure black, but I think it just makes for a little bit too much of a stark contrast there, so I just wanted to show you guys that real quick. So if anything, I'll, you know, do like a little bit of a darker color to the bottom of the nose, and then just like kind of manually let any kind of shadows in a render kind of take care of anything like that. And these are pretty harsh shadows that you're seeing right here, but I think that kind of gets the point across pretty well. Alright, so with some very minor poly paint, you can see that I think our face is coming alive a lot more and already looking a lot more like our concept would in 3D. I think we got some good stuff going on here for sure, but there are still some things that I think need to change. I noticed earlier our teeth were off center. And that's because I am working asymmetrically. It doesn't have to be perfect. I do, you know what? Let's undo. Or no, let's not. Let's not undo. What do I want? I'm gonna make that like non-existent. That's what I want. All right. I can like paint up the eyes a little bit. It's not gonna be final though. I haven't really decided what I'm gonna do for the eyes yet. How are we doing on time? We're getting close to about 2 hours here. So I'll spend a little bit of time noodling on the eyes, painting them up really quick. Nothing crazy. If you guys got any more questions, let me know now. I'm going to use a toy plastic material for my eyes. Set this RGB all the way up. I already have kind of this off-white color for the base of my eye. I just kind of sampled this color and went with it. So filling that in, my eyes are kind of screwed up on the inside. Doesn't really matter though. But if we move our light around, you can kind of see how that reflection works with the toy plastic material. I like the toy plastic material for eyes. I think it's pretty good. When I'm painting, I like to keep this light about right in the middle so I can get that farkle in there. 1 second here. Let's try to paint up some eyes. I'm just gonna turn off our hair so I can see a little bit better. Let's sample some colors. Now, like I said, one eye is yellow and one eye is brown for her. So I might have to paint these manually. I'm not really sure yet how I'm gonna do this. There are some ways that I can like hue shift the other eye or something. I think I'm gonna sculpt these, or paint these I should say, rather. Kinda in that upward looking pose already. Because that's where they're gonna be. How are we doing in terms of size? Okay. So pretty narrow here, a little bit bigger out there. And that could just be a thing with our eye shape for sure. But what I'm getting out of that read is that we need to move our eyes out a little bit more so that, you know, we were talking about cheating earlier. This like wraps around pretty hard here. I can show this. That angle there, that's pretty sharp as it turns back in. It's a pretty tight, crazy angle. Almost as if it's like going back into the head a little bit. So it's a little bit of cheating. I might be able to like adjust the eye some as well, but I'm gonna try to keep this about in the middle where I have it right now and kind of work on it from there. So base color first. From there, use a little bit of our highlight here, and let's drop our RGB intensity down a lot. Use this highlight a little bit on the bottom area of our eye. Maybe a little bit larger brush. Something like that. It doesn't need to be perfect. Sample another color if I can in there. Trying to get a little bit of a darker color up top. kind of bring that a little bit below halfway here with the eye. So I'm using a pretty low RGB value on this. Let's look at our pupils here, what we got going on. I don't have a nice what would you call it, point or vertice that I can kind of snap to for these, which is what I normally like to do. I might do something to kind of like get that back in there, but I think we're good to just paint like this, and if we want to, we can kind of project the poly paint back onto something else. So it's not that big of a deal. What I can do to kind of line up my pupil here is line up my brush and then resize and figure stuff out. So a little bit of a light stroke at first, kind of figure out the sizing here. How big we want to make that in relation to everything else. Let's swap on back, grab that highlighted yellow, or right about in the between there. And now it's just jumping back and forth between a few different colors here and filling in some of these areas. This outside edge I think is almost the same color as our pupil there. There's a few ways, you know, you can do the outside edge. There's even an alpha that you can use. You can use drag rectangle and alpha 9. Essentially, whoops, that right there. Whoop. And you can kind of do that like that. You might be able to line it up a little bit better than what I've done. I am going to Farkle. That little reflection's getting in the way for me. So as you pull that out, it gets a little bit lighter. Trying to see where that is being added on my surface. So I think we're just going to paint it in manually here. Again, if I had that vertice, it would be a lot easier, but it's okay. We are not shy about, you know, just painting in here manually. It being a little asymmetrical is fine too. It's not going to hurt anything. You can use a lazy mouse if you want. I'm still using that pretty low RGB intensity to work here. Get out of here, eye reflection. I'll swap back to that after I'm done. Whoops. It's even fun to sometimes manually paint in some shadows. I think it adds a lot of form to the eyes. We can look at maybe doing that. But I am about to maybe bounce out of here. We'll see how we're doing on time. Michael says, a better time to watch. I'm assuming this is the better time to watch. Well, it's been a minute since we streamed last, so No worries. Welcome, Michael. Welcome back, I should say. So it's not super clean. Doesn't need to be. Let's throw our material back on there. And what's great about this is, you know, it's not hard to clean up little areas or make any little tweaks you want to do as you go. I kind of like painting by hand. I'm not great at it, but I have fun kind of just playing with poly paint and seeing what I can do. That's why there are some other methods with, you know, going from the side and creating some masks. You can get some nice cylindrical or circular shapes for eyes that are pretty helpful. I like doing a lot of that stuff. Create some polygroups or masks or whatever. But we got a nice kind of basic shape here. It doesn't hurt to... That dog. What is it? Shave and a haircut, 2 clips? Is that the shave? I think that's what it is. I think it's called shave and haircut. 2 clips, is that right? I don't know. But that dog outside barked perfectly to that tune. I might sound crazy if you don't know what I'm talking about. Another thing that's kind of fun to do here is kind of manually paint in some shadows. There's a few different ways you can kind of play with that, using masking or kind of using a big brush with a very low RGB intensity. You can you know, sample your pupil, or you can do an all black color and just kind of fill that in ever so slightly. It helps to add a little bit more dimensionality to your eye. Another way that you can do that is by masking off from one corner of the eye to the other, like so, and then kind of going through there. And, you know, I wouldn't recommend doing it like this because it's a really sharp transition, but if you have some subdivision levels, you can blur that mask and then kind of add in either through fill object or whatever. It's going to be easiest for you to create some different stuff there for shadows. But yeah, I think that's looking good enough for kind of a block out for our purposes here. I think it's pretty fun. We can kind of move our light around and get that eye farkle to kind of be in a couple different places. Move our head around a little bit. The thing is with eyes is that as soon as you lose that like sparkle in the eye, the little reflection, things can start to look a little dead, which is why a lot of the time I will kind of like manually add in some geometry for it. Also, the front of your eye isn't perfectly round, right? You got some your cornea that sticks out a little bit, which helps to catch the light. On this though, we don't really have that present, so you know, there's no way for it to really catch the light here very well. Whoops, let's see. The essential idea would be though that if the front of your eye, you know, we're just kind of butchering stuff and moving it around. It looks really, really derpy. But even from the top view, you know, because your cornea sticks out, it's going to catch that eye reflection a little bit better. And I'll kind of move that back into place. But yeah, I think we've made some good progress on our head. I was also saying I wanted to take a look at the body. Ooh, that's fun. I don't think I'm going to be able to do that tonight, though. Let's swap materials here. So my head, if you guys were not here at the beginning of the stream, my head is not aligned to my body because I'm working on the head symmetrically, and I am working on the body asymmetrically. So some things are out of whack there, but we got some cool stuff going on with the body. A lot of work has been done already. A lot more work needs to be done. A lot more. But it's in a good place, and I'm pretty happy with the progress that we've made on our head tonight. Turn these groups off real quick. Just gonna hide that easier. But yeah, let's see here. One last kind of look at these different features. There's still a couple things. So I mentioned earlier the poly paint. The whole reason we add that poly paint on there is so we can kind of reference some form against each other. There's still some stuff with some distances here on the sides of the head that I kind of want to play with, but I think that's the only thing. And then of course with the eyes, I think the overall shape we're gonna have to tweak by pulling that lid down and mess with that some more. But we will figure that out, or I will figure that out. I don't know if I'll be able to stream all of that, but hopefully next time I'm available, I can do some more streaming. If you are new to my channel or anything else, there's a link down below in the description where you can go check out my Gumroad. I got some content on there for tutorials, paid tutorials, stuff that's a little bit more lengthy, more step-by-step, walking through the process. Sculpting characters for toys and collectibles is the most recent tutorial that I came out with, and I am also working on another tutorial right now for sculpting stylized female faces. Not all too different from this one here. So if you enjoyed this, you might enjoy that. Be on the lookout for that. And I'll see you guys in the next stream. And with that, I will leave you guys good night or good morning wherever you are. I'll see you guys in the next one. Have a great night.